Okay, it's 10:01. Please let me know if you can hear me okay. If you can just put yes in the chat, that would be great. Okay. It looks like you can hear me. I'm hoping. Okay. Is this a little better? All right. So I think we'll go ahead and get started. And we do have people monitoring the chat today, so please feel free to ask any questions in the chat as I go through today's presentation. It looks like I lost a couple bullet points. Just a second. Yeah, okay. We have some general house rules. These are the same that we have every week or every month. And essentially, I would just ask that you mute your microphone and don't use video for now. Someday we will, I promise. Don't forget to ask questions. I'll try to keep the presentation to about 20 minutes. I know that I have about 15 to 20 slides, but they should go pretty fast. So hopefully they'll go fast and you can get all of your questions answered today about Piwik, which is our website analytics software that we use. Before we jump into the presentation, I'm going to start just by showing you some resources that are available. You can visit Biology Information Technology, which is our team's website, and you can learn more about us there. The Luggage Showcase, which has all of most luggage sites that exist out there, or at least a lot of them. And you can sort by different groups on campus that are using the platform as well. So you can see various examples of the websites using the platform. And we also have feature examples. So if you are interested in learning what luggage can do for you and anything that you might like to see in that regard, please visit those as well. And digital access. So digital access is a website that is maintained and managed by Zaira Jordan. And she has some great information as far as website accessibility and usability and essentially making websites accessible for all. So if you'd like to look into that, I'd recommend that you please at least browse that website if you haven't already. And John Rick has put a lot of the links, or all 4 of those links, in the chat for you. So feel free to visit those links as I'm talking here today if you want to browse. So to get started, we're going to talk about Piwik Reports. When you happen to build a luggage website with us, you're going to receive a monthly report. And in this monthly report, you will get some numbers and statistics on who is visiting your website, how often. Unique page views is, I think, one of the most popular statistics for you that you're going to want to see. But essentially, we'll go through a bunch of things. I have a bunch of the stats that we'll go through. It sounds like there is a microphone on, so, or something. I'm hearing some audio. I don't know if it's myself just reverbing, but please check to make sure that everyone's on mute. Okay. So first off, when you receive this report, you end up getting a little chart at the top, and it has some statistics there. The first one is unique visitors, and unique visitors is different than unique page views. So all of this information that I'm giving you today comes from the glossary.piwik.org, and please feel free to visit their metrics information so that you can learn more about these terms. I happen to select the terms that most of the reports have in them and that we have selected to send to you in emails that are of highest importance. So unique visitors, as you can see, that essentially it's people who are coming to visit your website. And if it's the same person visiting your website multiple times, they're only counted as once. So that's what that number is. Now visits is going to be, if a visitor comes to your website for the first time, or if they've been on your site for a while. So if they've been on your page for a while and it looks like 30 minutes, then they'll be counted as another new visitor. So that's quite a long time if someone's on your website that long, and so they would be counted again as a new visitor. So that's how the visits work. You will see some charts in the report. Generally, these charts are really just to give you an overview or an idea or concept of what's going on as far as who's visiting your site. And they're just fun little analytics. So essentially, which days of the week are people visiting most? This can be useful for you. So for example, if you're looking to push out some sort of campaign, or you want to promote your newsletter or a big news item and you're not sure when to do that, this chart can give you some information as far as what's the most popular day for number of visitors, and maybe that can help you choose which day you release that campaign. Now on this report, obviously it's going to drop down, it looks like, over the weekend quite drastically, but during the week there's not much variation. If you wanted to get down to it, it looks like probably Thursday might be a good day, but they're pretty close in numbers. So sometimes your websites might have more differentiation in those numbers that you can pay attention to. So actions is really has to do with what people are doing on your website. So this is a combination of site searches, downloads, if people are visiting or using outlinks, which are links that go outside of your website, or they're looking, doing internal site searches and that sort of thing. So again, this is just a general overview. Excuse me, I have a frog in my throat today. And again, I think it's just for your own benefit to see if people are interacting with your website. This is a little more honed in a bit so that you can see actions per visit. This is going to be, instead of just generally like all actions, it's going to give you an average of actions per visit. So how many different things are people doing when they're visiting your website? And essentially, I also put the definition of outlinks and page views just so that you have an idea of drilling down that statement a little bit about visits. So whereas the previous number was total actions, so that's like 7,000 some because it's for the month, and then actions per visit is just an average of your visitors and the number of actions that they're doing. So bounce rate, a lot of people ask me about bounce rate and what that is. They generally want to get the bounce rate down, and so they ask some questions about how to do that. Essentially, it means that somebody visits your website and then they leave, as it says, right away. So they may visit a page and leave. The bounce rate's a little tricky because sometimes if somebody visits a page, they found what they wanted. And so your site did a good job and that's all they needed. But you really do want to entice people to stay on your website for a little bit and maybe click at least one more place before they leave so that it's not such a high bounce rate. So there's a lot of things, I guess, to think about with bounce rate. You do want to kind of get that number down, but again, sometimes people are finding what they actually want and leaving, and that, it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell what's going on there. But of course, if you look at the pages that there's exit page lists that we'll go through later, maybe there's a way that you could make that a little more interesting for people, so there's something else to click on and might keep them around. So page views, pretty straightforward. the number of times the page was visited. It could be the same person visiting the page 50 times in the same day. Page views is everything. It's not unique at all. It's just straight up page views. So oftentimes, if people use this number, that could be misconstrued as number of visitors because it's really not. It could be myself, for example, or yourself visiting the page 5 times and then coming back and you had a project and maybe you visited it a bunch of times. So it's really just a number for you to see and compare to your unique page views. So unique page views is the number of visits that are included on the page. If a page is viewed multiple times during one visit, it's only counted as once. So this is usually the statistic that people are most interested in, and so that's why I put that on this slide. So when you're going through and trying to see if your site has increased in visitors, this is a good statistic to watch and see how it's going. And again, feel free to ask questions in the chat if you have them. I'm trying to give just a quick overview today of what all of these statistics mean, and I'm trying to pick the most important and popular numbers. Unique downloads. So really, a download is a link, and so it's essentially if somebody clicks on a download link, that's tracking unique visitors. So if it's not the same person, clicking on that download. So that again is the difference between the downloads and unique downloads, and you can monitor those numbers a little bit to see if people are clicking on your downloads. So searches are really used, I think, in later charts, but it's essentially, there's two different kinds of search. So this one would be, when we're talking about keywords, usually in the keyword data, it's going to tell you if a keyword was searched for on your website's search engine, or so for example in the search box on your website, or if it was searched for like from Google. So there's a couple different things here, but the searches, it looks like, and this statistic are the number of visits that searched for a certain keyword on your website's search engine. So that would mean in the website search box. And here's your keywords. So it shows which keywords users were searching for before they were referred to your website. So that's what that is. And then these are the actual like keywords. So you can actually see unique keywords if you would like to. And if you don't see those for your report and would like those, I can add those for you. But this is essentially the keywords that are used on in your website's search box. Okay, so now we're going to get into some of these tables that are shown to you in your report. And this one I think is one of the most important to pay attention to. If you notice in this example, you could see that the people page actually has more unique page views than the home page. So what that tells us is that your people page is the most popular, and therefore you can treat it kind of as your home page, so to speak. So maybe there's some ways that we can think out of the box or get a little bit creative to come up with a couple ways to promote other pages on your website. And we've done that in a number of ways. So if you click on someone's profile, for example, you're going to be able to see their biography and some additional information, maybe their, a link to their lab site. And so again, with that bounce rate, it's a little ambiguous because it's not a bad thing if somebody goes to a people page and clicks on a lab page, for example, that's still within Iowa State. That's going to count as a bounce But essentially, if you're keeping people within Iowa State research realm, that's pretty good. So there's ways that we're doing that. Other ways that Luggage is helping with this is providing the more like this box. So on some of the pages, you've noticed a more like this box. And so there's an algorithm that chooses pages that are similar to the one that you're reviewing. And so in that case, you can actually promote other pages on your site with that popular page. Entry pages, again, pretty similar. I think it's going to be fairly similar to the previous chart we looked at, but it's where people are entering your website. So where are they coming in? What page are they coming into? Sometimes they do a search on Google, and they're not going to land on your home page necessarily if they find what they're looking for. You know, if they say, you know, Iowa State NREM forestry camps, Google may point them directly to the forestry camps URL, which you can see here. So that's what that's telling you. And my guess is that most people are finding what they're looking for. So there's a few bounces, but I think it's probably because they found the information that they were looking for. Hopefully. Exit pages, these are the pages that people are leaving your site. So this can help you determine, you know, where people are leaving if you have a high bounce rate, and you're going to be able to see where they're leaving from. So that's what those pages are. Websites. So websites are a list of the websites where people are coming from to visit yours. So if they are getting to your site, through another site, this is going to tell you which site they're coming from. So it looks like people are coming from web.iowastate.edu or iowastate.edu. So essentially, from the university homepage, there may be using the alphanumeric, or alphabet numbers, or finding you somewhere on the website that way. And then Google, of course, and maybe a college, so Cal's website is pointing people towards this one as well. And you can see others like Extension and Facebook. So you can tell where people are coming from to visit your website. And then there's device type. So you can see the device type and where people are, what people are using for the most part to visit your website. And so this is something that you can review and see, are most people coming from a desktop or a smartphone and that sort of thing. So this is where you can view that information. And the visitor browser. So the visitor browser shows what browsers people are using to find your website. And it looks like this is, I would say, probably fairly standard. I mean, Chrome and Firefox at the top, and then there's others real close by, like Safari and Explorer. So you can just see what browsers people are using. And you can also see that, there's some like IE Mobile, and there was a Android browser and some others. So you can see people are even still using Blackberries, at least one person. So you can see those browsers there. And that pretty much wraps it up. And I think I did it in about 20 minutes. So hopefully that's good. I tried to hit some of the highlights and the basics for the analytics that you receive in your reports. I can show you quickly a report here. So this is just an example, the NREM report, and most of the time they'll look just like this. You're going to see the title of the website. So if you have multiple websites with us, you'll receive a report for each one. And then you can see the date range and the basic analytics. So this is nice to save and put in a folder somewhere so that later you can report those numbers when you need to by the month. And that's usually the best way to do it. You'll be able to see a graph. So this is kind of over time. It's giving you a graph from month to month just of general visits. So it's nice to see, you know, where the dips are, where the highlights are, you know, where does it come, you know, where does your site get more visits, you know, beginning of the school year, that sort of time. So it'll be fun to compare now, you know, from this school year to next and that sort of thing. This is the days a week report that we went over. You'll end up getting a chart for the actions that we talked about. And again, I talked about most of these, but these are the numbers that you'll get, and this unique page views tends to be, again, the number that most people will end up reporting. Here's your page URLs, your entry pages, exit pages. This is essentially the page titles and giving you the number of views. So I think they're in order of the highest viewed pages, and they're giving you the title instead of the URL. So sometimes that's more helpful for you to see. Entry page titles, again, entry pages, but using titles instead of the URL. Same with exit pages. And here's your outlinks. So people are visiting the website and then going somewhere else. So essentially, they're going to places like Google Scholar and Iowa State. The other kind of pretty close department here, entomology. So you can see where people are going. And it looks like a lot of them are going to other Iowa State websites. So that's a good thing when you're looking at, if you look at bounce rate, it's a pretty good thing to see that people are visiting other Iowa State websites and not just going off to a random website. Oh, downloads. So you can see some downloads. Refer type. So if it's search engine, so if someone used like Google or another search engine to find the website, or direct entry, or from another website. So direct entry, I think, would be they just knew the URL. So if someone just knew the URL and came. Here's, again, a list of websites where people are coming from. So people are coming from these websites to yours. The devices, the browsers. So that's in a nutshell the report. And all of the information that I've shown you today, most of the official definitions are coming from the glossary that's located in the Piwik documentation. And you can view that glossary here, and John has put that link in the chat for you. So that if you ever have questions about what do these terms mean, and what's, you know, what does the chart mean? Usually what I do, because this is a pretty long glossary, usually what I'll do is I'll hit Command or Control F so that I can do a find in my browser. And if I'm looking for something like, we'll just do page views, then it'll take the browser, I'm using Chrome right now, but most browsers will do this. It will take you directly to the word that you typed in, or the search that you typed in. And you'll see arrows up here too. I know this is for Chrome, so I think, again, like Firefox and Safari and others work very similar, but you could see that there's 7 instances of page views, and you can click the down arrow to move down the document to show you additional definitions that have to do with page views. So there's your unique page views, for example, and then you can also move up or back to where you were. So if you like wanted to go back to a couple definitions prior, you can use those arrows to do that. So that generally is a helpful tip when using your browsers. Because as you can see, we would have had to scroll quite a bit to get to that. Okay, are there any questions that we can help answer today? I'm just looking over at the chat box, trying to see what we've got. I know it was a popular topic, and I had quite a few people ask me about doing this type of presentation, so I hope that I helped answer most of your questions. And please don't hesitate to contact us with additional questions that you might think of later after this webinar. I'm going to move back to my thank you slide here. So if you have questions, please email websupport@iustate.edu. That way it'll go to a few people, and hopefully we can get your questions answered faster. And if you would like to see other recorded webinars that we've done, you can visit the events archive in Luggage Docs. And when you go visit that, let me see if I can show you something here really quick. When you visit the archive, you're going to see basically a bunch of events, and instead of having to sift through those, you can select the event type of webinar and hit apply. And what that will do is give you all of these types of webinars, and you'll be able to click on them and see the recording, usually at the bottom of the event page. So that's where those are. Okay. And again, John Rarick has put that link in the chat for you, so you can look for that as well. All right. Does the statistics reflect your home computer going into your homepage? Oh, thanks, Angela. Yes. Yes, it does. Sometimes, you know, if we know that there's a couple editors that are on the site all the time and editing quite frequently, we may go in and blacklist that. I don't know what you call it, but you kind of don't count that particular computer just because it will skew the numbers weird. So if you feel like you're on your website all the time and you think that that's a problem, or you want to take you off of that, let us know. But for the most part, I think that it's fine the way it is. So. Okay. That's a good question. And if there aren't any more questions, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap up for today. And thank you very much for joining me. And I hope that you have fun looking at your Piwik analytics. And please don't hesitate to ask any questions about your website editing or analytics in general. We're happy to help with any of those questions. So thank you very much for joining today. Oh, wait, just a second. How do you use your stat reports to inform your website modifications? So I think, oh, that's a great question. So I think that pertains to a couple things. Number one, when you're looking at those entry pages, for example, you can see where people enter. And so essentially, if there's a page that people are visiting more frequently than your home page, that kind of becomes your new homepage because that's where people are going the most. And really what it means is that maybe you can put a block on that page on the side that promotes something that you're trying to promote or is very closely related to the content on that page as well. So it's a way to really make, you know, modifications to help your site visitors find even more information or things they didn't even know they'd be looking for. And if you'd like help in doing that, if you had some ideas for that, please contact me. I'm happy to help you with that and decide what to do with it.